Off the ball. This is News Talk.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball here on News Talk. John Duggan sitting in for Joe Malloy until 7 o'clock. Now time to turn our attention to the Dublin Racing Festival. Great racing over the last couple of days. 8 Grade 1 races. And Johnny Ward is here with me to chew the fat and pour over the results. How are you, Johnny?
Not too bad, JD.
Unusual that we're not talking on a Saturday, but...
I know, yeah, a day later. We probably should both be at Leopardstown in another kind of world, but we're here. And
with hats and pints. And
pints, yeah. I know that I heard a lot of reports that the people were struggling with the service, and I think it's a wider context that there are problems to get staff in Dublin at the moment. And Leopardstown, again, they haven't had a crowd like this in a long time, so that's an issue going forward. But obviously, the racing took centre stage.
Let's go through the results today. If you missed any of the results at Dublin Racing Festival, so Honeysuckle winning the big one, the champion hurdle, 5-1 on favourite, 6.5 lengths from Zanahir, Rachel Blackmore in the saddle for Henry de Bromhead. 14 wins out of 14 under rules, and it's pretty straightforward for Honeysuckle today. Also today in the card, William Mullins won the other 3 Grade 1 contests. So Galopin des Champs, 9-4 on favourite, 9-length winner from Master McShee in the Ladbrokes Novice Chase, 2 miles, 5.5 furlongs. Chacun Pour Soi, 7-4 on favourite, 12 lengths from Dunvegan in the Ladbrokes Dublin Chase. And also then we had today for William Mullins and Paul Tan and Sir Gerhard, 13-8 on favourite in the Tattersalls Ireland Novice Hurdle. They were the Grade 1 races today that we had at Leopardstown. The start of the day with the Mares Handicap Hurdle, Party Central, 7-4 favourite, Davy Russell in the saddle for Gordon Elliott, the trainer there. Also we had Call Me Lyrene, a 20-1 winner for the same combination, Russell and Elliott in a handicap hurdle over 2 miles. And the Mares Bumper, a 40-1 winner of the last race, Lily du Burley, Ben Crawford and Stuart Crawford. Also today, Birchdale, the 9-2 favourite for Mark McDonough in the plate, for Enda Bulger winning the Leopardstown handicap chase in the colours of JB McManus. If you missed yesterday, the Gold Cup was won by Conflated at 18-1, Gordon Elliott and Davy Russell, surprise winner of the Irish Gold Cup, sponsored by Paddy Power. Also yesterday, the Grade 1 races, the Nathaniel Lacey and Partners Solicitors Novice Hurdle went to Manila Cocooner at 11-1 for William Mullins and Danny Mullins. Vauban at 9-4 was a Spring Juvenile Hurdle winner, the Grade 1 contest for Willie and Paul Townend. And then Arkle also went to Willie and Paul Townend yesterday, Blue Lord at a price of 5-2. Facile Vega, the most facile winner of the weekend, Willie Mullins and Patrick Mullins in the bumper yesterday, 11-8 on favourite. Also, Johnny Ward would be happy to hear that Good Time Johnny was a 17-2 winner of a handicap hurdle over 3 miles with Tony Martin training that one, Kevin Sexton riding it. And the other winner to mention, A Wave of the Sea, 9-2 for Joseph O'Brien and Shane Fitzgerald yesterday in the Paddy Power handicap chase. We'll start with Honeysuckle. Johnny, look, she didn't have much to beat, 14 wins out of 14. I think she'll appreciate better ground at Cheltenham now when we get to March. But like her rider, Rachel Blackmore, she is the People's Champion.
She is the People's Champion, yeah. It wasn't a good race, Shitty. Appreciated didn't turn up, and she was getting weight off Zanahir, and Ted Walsh was asked this about Nick Luck earlier. They possibly should look at the weight allowance for mares, that she's getting weight of a 5-year-old gelding from like that is Zanahir today, but it doesn't really matter to her. She's that good anyway. It was very, very straightforward. Rachel kind of rode her similarly to how she rides her generally, keeps her out of trouble, keep things simple. I got the impression that they did feel the pressure a bit today because we spoke to Henry de Bromhead about this on Friday Night Racing earlier in the year. Like, she is unbeaten, and that's a precious thing. So few horses go through the race unbeaten at any level, not to mind the top level. And today she really, this might sound stupid, but she'd nothing to gain today because she'd nothing to beat. And it was just, the only thing that could go wrong today was that the de Bromhead yard form surfaced such that she wasn't able to show her worth, because his strike rate has gone down a lot since October into November, December.
Is there a question mark over the yards?
I still look at some. I mean, you look at Grand Jury yesterday. Some of his horses are still very disappointing, and Bob Ollinger and Honeysuckle have been able to defy that. Manila Indoor ran really well, and sometimes you can read too much into this, but there's still for a trainer that's so consistent. Some of his horses are running very, very ordinary, and very poorly at times. So I think that's why you could get nearly 4-1 on the betting exchanges today, which on the face of it was literally buying money. All she had to do was run her race, and she was never a 4-1 on shot to do that. But I think that reflects the fact that some people are a little bit concerned about the yard form. Zanahir made a bad mistake at the first, and the fact that he held on for second from a very, very flattering Echoes in Rain showed that Honeysuckle really didn't beat anything. She didn't show anything today, we don't know already, but there was a great reaction to her, and she's really important for racing. Henry de Bromhead saying that every second person he meets has a son or daughter who loves Honeysuckle, and at a time when I think racing can take for granted its indefinite appeal, her story is very important.
So we also had Appreciated, as you mentioned there, line up in the betting, as I saw a few moments ago, for the champion hurdle. So if Appreciated, given the way he won the novice hurdle at Cheltenham last year and he hammered Blue Lord, and Blue Lord won the novice chase yesterday, would Appreciated give Honeysuckle something to think about, you think?
Like, he possibly would, but I mean, he should have shown up today, and Ruby Walsh said that he reportedly wasn't pleasing Willie Mullins enough. We expected him to go over fences this year, and ironically enough, if you look at Willie's division, he wanted Fernie Hollow, I'd imagine, to win the Arkle, and that would have been grand. Fernie Hollow looked very good beating Riviere de Tel at Christmas. Unfortunately, he's now injured, so Appreciated could have filled that void, and his performance was so good at Cheltenham last year. He probably would have it in him to beat Honeysuckle, but it'll take something extraordinary at this stage, because every time I think, well, what's she achieving here? She just keeps winning, and her enthusiasm for the game. She's a horse that believes in herself at home, to put it mildly. I think she's a bit of an attitude. She knows she's really good, and it's a precious thing to maintain that unbeaten record. But at the moment, Appreciated would emerge as one of the only horses you could see given her race at this stage in Cheltenham.
Chacun Pour Soi, as we know, is an excellent runner at Leopardstown in 2 mile chases. The third time he's won this Ladbrokes Dublin chase. Classic Chacun Pour Soi performance. Went out in front, jumped well, cruised clear, just extended himself, won readily from Dunvegan. But the question mark is with Chacun Pour Soi, he hasn't delivered in England. He went to Sandown there before Christmas and flopped. And also Cheltenham last year, the Hill seemed to find him out, or whether they made enough use of him, I don't know. But there's a question mark when you're looking at Chacun Pour Soi as a horse maybe to win the champion chase at Cheltenham.
Well, the question mark about him winning the champion chase is he hasn't run against Shishkin yet. So that's a massive problem, because Shishkin, like Honeysuckle, does not lose. So he has to find a way to beat Shishkin. For me, that's more of a problem than his travelling, because I think the travelling, you can just put a line through both of them. He should have won at Cheltenham last year. I was concerned about him getting up the hill. I think that fed into the mind of Paul Townend on the day. He should have ridden him probably more positively. Today, he did anything but ride that horse like a horse with stamina concerns today, and it was softish enough ground. They had plenty of rain last night over an extended 2 miles won. He didn't have a soft lead. Bryony Frost made what looked a bizarre decision in hindsight to go up the inner on Grenadine. Whether that mattered or not, the horse disappointed. He flopped, so he had to basically beat Dunvegan and Cashback, and the horse that was third, Captain Guinness, who was not good enough. But it was a brilliant performance, Jitty. It was a flawless performance. His jumping was spectacular, and what a champion chase we have. He hasn't taken on Shishkin yet, so he hasn't been beaten by him.
And Ergoman is in the same yard. What Paul Townend rides would be very interesting.
Yeah, I do wonder, would they be tempted to take and put an Ergamine up and trip, but he won his point-to-point before he joined Willie Mullins, and I don't really think he'd have an issue with going to the Ryanair, but obviously they have Allaho for that as well, so I don't really know. Will they definitely both turn up? What Paul Townend will ride, very, very tough to call, because he rode Energamine for your epic commentary, Davey, in McLaren's house. But can he beat him at Cheltenham on the back of that? It's kind of everything went right and he still couldn't beat him.
Shishkin missed one, the open ditch down the back, and it's the only thing that I'd be concerned about for Shishkin is that he might just hit one.
But he's better going left-handed as well, I think.
Yeah.
He jumped out a bit to his left. I think Cheltenham suits Shishkin down to the ground. To be honest, I don't really see either of them beating him, but tough call for Paul Townend. Will Willie Mullins possibly think, an Ergamine could go out and trip to the Ryanair? I'm totally speculating here. I haven't been speaking to him, but if the three of them show up, there are some of the races at Cheltenham, and I hate the fact that Cheltenham has become so diluted in terms of races, but there are some of the races in Cheltenham that look incredibly hot right now, including the Triumph, including the Supreme, and including the Champion Chase and the Gold Cup in another way.
And Gallopin des Champs was another big winner today. So 9 lengths from Master McShee. We had Paddy Corkery on Friday Night Racing talking about that great story about Master McShee finishing a credible second, I would have said. But Gallopin des Champs, to me, run him in the Gold Cup, because at the moment, I watched the replay about an hour ago and I just said, he'll win the Gold Cup now. Now, I know he's 6. Maybe that's irresponsible to be talking about a 6-year-old running a Gold Cup, but the fellow nearly won a Gold Cup as a 6-year-old. Long Run did win a Gold Cup as a 6-year-old. If you're old enough, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I just kind of feel that sometimes Monkfish is injured. He might not run in the Gold Cup ever. Vautour, they had a chance to run him in the Gold Cup possibly, and they chose the Ryanair or the Novice Chase, and he never got a chance to run in the Gold Cup. I just feel sometimes you just got to grasp it when it's there for you. And I don't think the Gold Cup market is that competitive.
It'd be a very brave call because, you know, it was like...
It's not going to happen, but I'm just wondering, I just think, like, this horse is sensational.
Novices have run in it, like Beaver Salmon ran in it.
Coney Gree won it a few years ago.
Coney Gree won it as a novice, an unbelievable performance.
Captain Christie, 1974.
Like, Coney Gree was he 9 when he won it?
8, yeah.
8 years of age, and he was kind of kicking on a bit as a novice at that stage. Like, the performance that he produced today, he seemed to... Maybe he was slightly out to his right at times, but I was wondering, like, what's he going to find from the last? Just let's be avenue here, so to speak. And he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And I think I'd be all over him stepping up to 3 miles. He either does that or he takes on Bob Bollinger. I don't think they'd be mad to do that personally. 3 miles, no issue at all on his hurdles form.
All he does is gallop.
He's gallops and jumps, and he's spectacular, and he's fairly straightforward as well. And like, would you run him in the Gold Cup? I don't think they will.
No, they won't. I'm just kind of putting it out there.
But if he were, and I do like to ask the question: if he ran in the race, what price would he be? He'd probably be
5 to 1, 6 to 1.
Yeah, he'd be fairly short, because he's a brilliant engine. He jumps incredibly well. The Gold Cup is a serious jumping test. It's fence at a turning track, and it'll only be his 3rd run. He'd be one for all these kind of bankers at Cheltenham, JD. But I did love the run of Master McShee because I spoke to his trainer afterwards, Paddy Corkery, and he's like, I said, will you be going to Cheltenham? I will. I said, you will? Yeah, I will, but the horse won't be. So I thought he was going to bring him. So I think he enjoyed the day, and the fact that the horse comes... He had a great run. Like, he demolished everything else, you know. And
yeah, Fury Road made a mistake down the back, and he was put out like a light then, and Beacon Edge fell, and was it the JB McManus horse?
Yeah, the
Capodello or
Capodanno.
Capodanno.
So he was, so there were definitely frailties in behind. But like he was saying that he was coming into the race in great form and ran on strongly into a 9-length second. But it's just every year or every so often you get a horse who was good over hurdles, but he produced a chase performance. It's a bit like Denman as a hurdler. He was beaten as a novice at Cheltenham, but he was a different animal over fences. And this horse is completely different gravy over fences. Like, was he 100 to 1 at this festival last year, I think?
Right.
You know? So it's like, it's an amazing...
So what will it be? Powers Gold Cup or whatever the iteration of it now?
In terms of...
Well, the next target for Town Festival for Master McShee?
Yeah, so that was Galvin Jean, but I'd say it will be. That race would suit him probably down to the ground, even though he does love easy ground. But I'd be going to Cheltenham with him, you know, I really would, because there's probably not an awful lot of depth to the Bob Bollinger race, and you know, you like Paddy Corkery's probably never going to get a horse like this again. But I think he was. I don't know if you've listened to the interview Friday. He was brilliant. It's just such a breath of fresh air. Today was 25 years from Denoli. You don't get those stories anymore, and this is a similar story. And I'd go to Cheltenham, but he's not going to Cheltenham, and I'd say he will go to Ferryhouse.
So Gerhard, Sir Gerhard, 13 to 8 on favourite. Paul Tannen and Willie Mullins won the novice hurdle then. So a 6-length winner over 3-stripe life. Got some engine, Sir Gerhard. We know he won the bumper last year, beat Kilcrush. I wasn't too impressed with his jumping. Now maybe at a faster pace at Cheltenham he'll be able to brush up on that. Maybe he was a bit like lacking in concentration today with his jumping. But I think at 2-mile championship pace you need to be able to jump.
Yeah, I know. Just I know you say we're normally here on Saturday, JD. It's good to see Dan is listening in, because he's just texted as well. He said Willie has never won the champion chase. He's not going to half his chance. That's a fair point.
That is a fair point. Why not? Like, wasn't it Henry de Bromhead the first 2 in the Gold Cup and the Grand National last year?
Yeah, I mean, how much does the Ryanair matter to Willie? Maybe half his chance. You might say he's no chance, and it's half of no chance of beating Shishkin anyway. But it's a good point Dan's made, in fairness, and he would love to win that race. It took him a long time to win the Gold Cup. In terms of the novices' performance today, I tend to agree with Ruby Walsh that I don't think he really enjoyed being in front. Like a couple of his jumps were just, even though he's a horse that has literally come out of winning a maiden hurdle at 6s on or whatever he was, like he was brilliant on his hurdle debut, and Davy Russell let him at it today. I think he did sense as well that the horse wasn't necessarily loving it as much as he got a freebie in the Cheltenham bumper last year, and his jumping was okay. They omitted the second last on both courses, and you'd wonder, was that going to be a benefit for him because how well he jumps? But I still love the way he finished his race. I think he'll go out and trip. I don't think he'll take on Dicer Diamond in the Supreme.
Right, okay.
I don't think he will, because I feel that he's out of a mare Fana Naldar, who is a 2-5 horse, so he should definitely stay. And if he stays, he'll be, it'll be a hell of a potent combination in the Ballymore. I just get the impression that Willie wasn't committing after the race, but it's not so much Dice or Dynamos. The two Constitution Hill and John Bon as well. Like that's an incredibly hot race as it is. I have a feeling they'll step up and trip.
Okay, so the grade ones yesterday, that's today's 4 grade ones. We'll get to the other races today in a bit. So, Conflated, did you tip Conflated?
I did, yeah, at 40s.
On Friday Night Racing?
No, I tipped on Racing TV actually. I'd only 2 tips on Saturday, and the other one was actually Field Door, which was second. But
congratulations!
But it was one of these tips, JD. It was kind of like you just go through the field, and they say don't be afraid of the opposition, but there are so many holes in the opposition. I mean, Astern Forlorn was sent off favourite. He can't even go left-handed. So it was just one of these kind of weird Gold Cups, and I'm not going to take too much kudos for it. I hope
take
somebody
the kudos.
on. Yeah, like
that's what I do in Virtual Insanity every week.
Virtual Insanity, yeah. Like you've a few people actually did tip him, and I'd say it was all process of elimination stuff. You've an 8-runner field with so many negatives about half them, and he was unexposed. And I spoke to Davy Russell actually on Thursday, and Davy wouldn't be that positive about horses that are very obviously going to go very close, and he was actually very bullish about the horses each way chance or whatever, and that didn't necessarily colour my judgment on the race, but it did give me a little bit more confidence that he'd run well. I don't know, this was a strange race. I mean,
how can a horse beaten 61 lengths by Monkfish in a novice chase win that race?
I think, in fairness to him, he's unexposed. He'd won his handicap off, 145. He's a bit quirky. Jack Kennedy spoke about that this morning at the track. But you look at the holes that the others fell into. Kenboy didn't perform.
Frodon
did not perform. Astern Forlorn's a sent off favourite, despite the fact he was ridden wide, despite the fact he almost certainly needs to go right-handed. Delta Work is probably gone at the game.
Janet
elimination. Yeah, and the horse that finished third, Janadil. Like, does he even stay 3 miles?
Manila Indo is the Gold Cup winner, and it was a decent performance in second, but I still think it's not the horse we saw last year.
Well, it isn't. I mean, let's be honest, he was still beaten by a horse rated 157, well beaten by him. So I'd look at Manila Indo's performance with a positive view to Cheltenham, but at the same time, it was better than Kempton, but it wasn't much better than he should have been. It wasn't better than he should be running. He should be winning that race, really.
Yeah.
You're still talking about those nagging doubts with the Bromhead Yard, but for me, he will produce at Cheltenham now. I think he's back, and he'll come to the race with a big each way chance. But you can't rule out the winner either. He was very good, and something clicked.
42 years of age. The ride Davy Russell gave the horse was excellent as well. Had him close up, got him jumping well. Still has it, Davy.
It's absolutely incredible. Like, I'm not going to lie, I thought he was insane. Like, virtual insanity. I thought this was actual insanity, JD. Like, the injuries he'd had. And you have this idea in your head that the doctors aren't giving you the all clear for a reason. They don't want to be the doctor who says go back riding, because they're just not happy with it. But eventually they obviously did. He went back. Like, the ride he gave the horse in the first today, Party Central, it was absolute poetry in motion. The ride he gave Galvin over the same course and trip as yesterday's winner in the race at Christmas, Savills, for me, he was as good a ride as he's ever given a horse, and he's riding phenomenally well. He's maybe picking and choosing a bit, but for the age that he has, I think if you're a national hunt jockey in your 40s, you should have given up, basically, or you should be close to. He's 44, I think, this year, is he?
43 this year. 43
this year, and it's just brilliant to watch. What he's overcome. He's a lot of young kids. He's an extremely busy man, and like, nobody wants to see the injuries that a lot of the top jockeys have sustained. But he just loves the game too much, and there is an element of madness in all of that. But like, I don't ride horses. I don't know what the kick is like that he got from that win yesterday.
You have to say, with Galvin winning at Christmas and then Conflated yesterday, that Gordon Elliott is back as well.
He's well back, and I think if you augment the genius of Gordon Elliott and a bit of a thirst for vengeance, and basically maybe look into his soul that happened after last year, I think you have a very potent combination, and he is seriously hungry for winners now. And I think the two of them have very realistic. Galvin, to me, is probably the most solid bet in the Gold Cup. I think he's really, really solid. He's probably the best he's ever been this season.
Yeah.
Will he again beat Applutard at Cheltenham? Maybe not, but he's brilliant around Cheltenham. He loved the hill. He's a really, really reliable horse.
Genuine horse, yeah.
Very genuine. Yeah. Probably more straightforward than Conflated. But Conflated, regardless of what you say, he has a chance.
The novice chase, Blue Lord, Willie Mullins and Paul Tennant. The way I kind of summarised this when I did my notes last night, I think he needs further. It was sketchy early on and he got better as the race went on.
Yeah, but he was, I mean, I heard Jack Kennedy talk about it. He was probably lucky to hold on to the race because he snatched up Riviere to Tail badly at the last, and he started to tie up then after looking like he was going to go away and win. And, you know, it was a really game performance by her in defeat for the second time. He was good in fairness, and he just about did enough, but I don't know, he'll probably be vulnerable at Cheltenham, I think, on that performance, JD.
Facile Vega, have you seen an impressive bumper winner recently than that? The son of Vega.
This is a fantastic story because it's obviously he's by walk in the park, and fair enough, like you're not talking about like the owner of Denoli or the owner of Master McShee or whatever, and their powerful connections. But Vega was a horse that meant a lot to people. She wasn't Honeysuckle, but people backed Vega at Cheltenham.
6 times she won in a row.
6 times, and they backed her at Cheltenham just to get out of jail many times. I've heard that a million times.
Did you?
I probably did, like, or probably put me further into jail or whatever, but give me a longer sentence. But she was an amazing horse. I think, again, like, I'm not mad on the mare's race at Cheltenham, and when she took on the boys, she was well able for them, and like Honeysuckle, you know, she and Annie Power, when they took on the boys, they were well able for them. I don't think you need these mares races at all at Cheltenham, but in any event, she was a brilliant horse. But a lot of these mares, like, they don't produce, and even when she met Walk in the Park, it's not the same. It's not the same as Ouijaboard going to Galileo. Like in jumps racing, it's far more random. Like in terms of whether there's a theory that great race mares don't. Like Opera Hat, she was poor at stud. Like some of these great race mares don't produce for whatever reason. This horse looks sensational, and like even Ted Walsh, who made the point that he's well into his 70s, was talking. This was the first horse that he mentioned today. Incredible performance. How far could this horse go? It's and he was very hard to pull up as well. He looks awesome.
Vauban, 9-4 winner yesterday of the Juvenile hurdle. Pied Piper beat Vauban at Punchestown. That seems to be the race now that everybody should be marking down for Cheltenham.
2 very good horses.
Because Vauban, I thought Field d'Or was the one to be on, and
so
then,
did I.
Yeah, for the whole earlier in the season.
I thought Field d'Or was a strong. I thought it would take good performance to beat him, and Davy Russell tried to make use of his stamina. He's a national hunt bred horse. He's not like Vauban or Pied Piper. Pied Piper's a flat horse, mile and 2 horse. He's a bit more of a steering type, and he tried to ride kind of the gas out of Paul Townend's mount, who I have to say, watching the race, I was delighted with the way it was panning out, because I'd tipped Field d'Or and Vauban was edging to his right, and I think he's not going to get away with this. He absolutely bolted up. He bolted up. Now, I'd have concerns about Cheltenham for him, that tight track in the Triumph. You know, we've seen hot favourites go over there who have a tendency to go right, and it can really be embellished. So that would be a concern, as well as how Pied Piper handles the track and how good he is. I know it sounds mad, JD, but I wouldn't rule Field d'Or out of Cheltenham.
Right.
No, because it's
jockey arrangements once again important.
Yeah, I mean, like, in fairness, he's unlikely to reverse the form, but Cheltenham, he might be able to get a toe into the race and not do as much of the donkey work as he did himself, and he's still very, very solid. I think he'll run a really solid race each way if he goes for it. But now, having said that, he's only 6-1, 7-1 today, but the Irish are going to win the Triumph anyway. I'm just not sure which of the 3.
Manella Cocooner, Danny Mullins, classic Danny Mullins in the van ride out in front, judged the pace of the race really well, and was an 11-1 winner of that 2 mile 6 furlong race yesterday, beating Manella Crooner. So Manella Cocooner beating Manella Crooner.
Yeah, I remember working in the bookie shop down the years, and a fella used to come in, and one of his party tricks was to write down trap like T for the dog, and then this figure that could either be a 3 or a 5, and it was kind of hard to make it out. So he was kind of giving himself 2 chances, and it was like a kind of you literally could say that's a 5 or a 3. And I wonder whether people in the bookie shops trying to like down Manila and then a kind of a vague something or other, and they would have copped the lot yesterday, because first and second, so the John Allen Manila horse is flying it, but for a horse that was keen, he did stay on well, and I'm not sure how strong a race it was. I think, you know, the Hollow Games was maybe a shade disappointing, but great win for Danny Mullins. He's brilliant from the front, and I think he's going to go out and trip, according to Willie Mullins, which presumably means Albert Bartlett for him.
Great to have crowds back at Leopardstown as well. This is what we've always wanted.
Yeah, again, I should reiterate, there were serious problems with staffing yesterday, with reportedly 40 minutes to get a beer, and not everyone drinks, but everyone eats, and to get food was a problem as well. And I've sympathy with Leopardstown in the sense that I do fear that there are serious issues with staff in general in Dublin at the moment. This is a problem that the government are going to have to face up to as well, because you see it in restaurants, you see it in so many places, staff wanted, and there are clearly issues where they're at Leopardstown. So the people who came there, I think we can't take for granted that people will continue to come come racing. But you know, the racing was awesome. Some really good performances. If you came to see Honeysuckle, you went away very happy. Some great finishes. You know, and on a weekend for sport, you know, I was out on Friday night and some buzz back in the place, JD. To see the Welsh people around again and people over to watch the racing. It's great to have normality back, and this was the Dublin Racing Festival that I think made people appreciate going back racing. Anything
you'd take out then for us to follow for Cheltenham in the next few weeks? Any horses that
I think the bumper horse Facile Vega was extraordinary. Galloping Deschamps.
There's one they had at Goran Park there. That's is it Mercury or something?
Yeah, Mercury. He's by Mutat here. He was making his debut. Rich Ritchie colours. He was good, but he wasn't as visually good as this. And bear in mind now, this is a race with 7 horses, and you know, Nick Luck was saying, there were only 7 runners in the race, but there were 7 last time out winners. It was an incredibly hot race, and he won by 12-14 lengths. He's going to go to the Cheltenham Bumper as a raging hot favourite, JD. I thought Sir Gerhard was good. Shakan Poursoir's performance put him right back into it. And I think for me, Galloping Deschamps he has that X factor. Honeysuckle only did what we know that she can do. And to be honest, I should give a mention as well, just to, you know, one of the smaller races, Party Central, for a horse who clearly doesn't want to hit the front at all. A bit like Black Tears, who won the race before. I thought she travelled like a very good mare in the first, and herself and the Mullins battalion in the Mares Novice Hurdle, as much as I decry these mares race, it's actually going to be a very good race.
And Say Goodbye was second to Party Central in that race. The opening race was a fast finishing second. Another one to keep an eye out for was a 33-1 horse trained by Gordon Elliott for the same yard there. So Johnny, thanks so much. Brilliant synopsis of what happened in the last couple of days, and we'll see you next Saturday.
When are you back commentating?
Probably next Saturday.
Lovely.
Racing on Off the Ball brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. This is Off the Ball. We're back after the break with a GAA roundup.
Off the Ball on News Talk.